You ever hear a story that just sticks in your brain for years? For me, that's Mount Shasta, a massive snow-covered peak in Northern California. It looks like something out of a dream. But what really gets me is what people say is inside it. For more than a century, people have claimed that something or someone is buried beneath Mount Shasta. Now, I'm not talking about volcanic rock. I'm sure that there's a lot of that. But in this case, I'm talking about Lemurians, a lost civilization complete with subterranean cities, even portals to other worlds. I'm John Genoa. This is America's Strangest History. Let me tell you why Mount Shasta might just be the weirdest mountain in America. The modern legend starts with Frederick Spencer Oliver, who in 1989 wrote A Dweller on Two Planets. He said the book was dictated to him through automatic writing by a spirit from Atlantis. Got that? Automatic writing, for those of you who are not in the know, is writing that's purportedly directed by occult or spiritual forces rather than by your own conscious mind. It's a fascinating phenomenon. Maybe we'll do a video on it, but I digress. Oliver described a subterranean city called Telos deep beneath Mount Shasta and was inhabited by a race of beings called Lemurians. They're survivors from a sunken continent in the Pacific. Can you guess what the name of that continent was called? Lemuria. Oliver said they lived in gleaming halls, had advanced technology like anti-gravity airships, and came up to the surface to trade with humans, wearing flowing white robes and sandals made of solid gold. Sounds less like history and more like fiction, right? I'm trying to gauge just how high this guy must have been when he decided to put pen to paper on this. Regardless of how high he was or wasn't, I still find this story quite remarkable. I think you will too. The book influenced generations of occultists and New Age writers. You can get it today on Amazon, along with everything else you can possibly imagine. Jump ahead to 1934. A man named Edward Lancer published an article in the Los Angeles Times describing how he encountered a mystical white-robed figure while hiking in Mount Shasta. According to Lancer, the man said he was a Lemurian, then vanished shortly after entering a cave. The article sparked national attention. Dozens of hikers and spiritual seekers came to the mountain hoping to find Telos, or Telos, however you want to call it. But some claim that they saw strange glowing lights at night coming from inside the mountain. Others described hearing chanting echoing from unseen caverns. Then there's Guy Ballard, an Illinois man who hiked Mount Shasta in 1930, and he claimed that he met an ascended master named Saint Germain. We did a video on him a while back. He was a real historical figure who, according to some, discovered the Philosopher's Stone and the key to immortality. It was a good video. Maybe we'll put it back up. Ballard said Germain revealed hidden truths about the universe and about Lemuria. He returned home and founded the I Am movement, which taught that Mount Shasta was a sacred power center. His group grew rapidly, over 1 million followers at one point, and they hosted conventions, they published books, and they bought property near the mountain to be closer to its so-called spiritual vortex. Ballard's claims were investigated by skeptics and the federal government, not because of the Lemurian angle, but because the I Am movement was eventually accused of financial fraud in the 1940s. They survived, though, and they're still active today. I wonder if they have a YouTube channel. In the 1960s and 70s, the legends took on a new twist. Rumors of government involvement. Some claim the US military discovered ancient tunnels under Mount Shasta, possibly linking it to other power centers like Mount Adams in Washington and Sedona in Arizona. A few fringe researchers published crude maps showing so-called ley lines and underground networks crisscrossing beneath North America, with Mount Shasta as its hub. In 1971, researchers Branton, Bruce Allen DeWalton published material claiming that the US discovered a massive system of underground caverns beneath the western United States and was monitoring non-human activity inside. Now, were these allegations verified? No. I'm not sure how they could be verified, though. Maybe by direct admission. if the president addressed the nation and said, yes, there's something under Mount Shasta. That would be enough for me. Verified or not, it was taken seriously in ufology circles, and there's a lot of reports of strange lights in and around that mountain. Mount Shasta is also one of the UFO hotspots of the American West. Dozens of sightings have been recorded there, especially over Panther Meadow and near the summit. One of the most cited cases happened in 1980 when campers described a glowing orb hovering over the mountain and then vanishing downward as if entering the mountain itself. The incident was never officially investigated, but several witnesses gave statements. Their descriptions were oddly consistent. Today, you can join UFO and night watch tours around Mount Shasta where guides point out known activity zones. It sounds fun. I'm actually just checked that out. Now we get to what I consider to be the most intriguing story associated with Mount Shasta, my personal favorite. J.C. Brown was purportedly an English prospector and a geologist working for the Lord Cowdrey Mining Company of England, also known as the Anglo-California Mining Company in the early 1900s. His job involved exploring the western United States, including the Mount Shasta region, for gold and other valuable mineral deposits. In 1904, while prospecting on the eastern slope of Mount Shasta, Brown stumbled upon a partially hidden tunnel entrance in the cliffside, sealed with what looked like a sort of rock slide or a collapse. Curious, he excavated and followed the passage for several miles underground. Guess what he found inside? A vast underground complex containing a buried city. Stone-built chambers, vaulted rooms, and long hallways. 14-foot-tall skeletons wearing ornate copper armor and headdresses. Walls lined with hieroglyphic-like inscriptions and unknown language. Gold artifacts, shields, and what he described as unknown devices. Brown claimed he explored the underground city for several days and then made detailed notes and maps. He then sealed the entrance out of fear and lack of equipment. He planned to return later with proper provisions, an excavating crew, and support. Brown reportedly kept his discovery secret for 30 years. He feared ridicule, skepticism, or being discredited professionally. Then, in 1934, at the age of around 79, Brown resurfaced in Stockton, California, claiming that he finally was ready to lead an expedition back to the site at 79 years old. Ready to lead an expedition. God bless him. He gave an interview or presentation, accounts vary, to a group of around 80 or 90 local men, including scientists, scholars, and potential financiers. He told them everything about the city, the giants, the artifacts. He said he had maps and directions and was ready to go. Then the men were intrigued. I'm intrigued. Plans were made to leave within 48 hours. According to multiple accounts, the group was serious. Supplies were gathered. Trucks and equipment were arranged. Everyone was ready for the discovery of a lifetime. Lives would change. History rewritten. On the morning the expedition was supposed to leave, J.C. Brown vanished. No note, no sign of foul play. He was just never seen or heard from again. Some of the men searched for him. Some accused him of making the whole thing up. Others believed he'd been silenced either by the government, secret societies, or maybe even spiritual forces guarding an underground city, maybe the Lemurians. The story was first reported in various local papers and retellings. Most surviving details come from a woman named Helen Hinckley Jones, who wrote and lectured about the incident decades later. She claims to have personal contact with some of the expedition members. Now, there are several competing ideas about J.C. Brown and the alleged lost city. One, was it a hoax? Some believe Brown fabricated the entire thing, either as a psychological delusion, an attempt at fame, maybe even a final prank. Skeptics argue that there's no hard evidence he ever existed beyond oral tradition. Two, he was silenced. Conspiracy-minded researchers suggest that Brown was eliminated or disappeared because of what he found. Theories include government intervention to suppress knowledge of giants or ancient civilizations, secret societies such as the Freemasons, Lemurian guardians protecting the sacred mountain, all possibilities. 3. He was real, but the expedition got shut down. Some say Brown was really preparing the expedition, but either backed out at the last minute due to fear or suffered foul play by one of the members of his party. It's been speculated that someone within the group killed or kidnapped him to take the maps for themselves. To this day, no one's found the lost entrance, and no confirmed evidence of the buried city has ever surfaced. Still, people hike the eastern slopes of Mount Shasta every year hoping to stumble across the mouth of the tunnel. Maybe one day somebody may stumble across it, like good old J.C. Brown. I just hope they don't mysteriously go missing moments before an expedition could be launched. From my own research, I failed to identify any surviving formal records of Brown's employment in the company's known archives, but the story goes that he was a professional miner, highly skilled in geological surveying. Also, his name doesn't appear in census or military records tied definitively to the story. Doesn't mean it's all a bunch of malarkey. The records could have been expunged, or it could just be another tall tale. Now, before all these accounts of strange going-ons in and around Mount Shasta, before Oliver or Ballard or the UFO crowd, native tribes like the Shasta, the Modoc, and the Wintu believed the mountain was sacred. According to some traditional stories, Skell, the spirit chief, descended from the heavens to the summit of Mount Shasta to do battle with Lau, a spirit from the underworld who lived in Mount Mazana, now Crater Lake. In some versions of the story, Mount Shasta is not just sacred, it's a spiritual bridge between heaven and the underworld. Look, I don't think that there's a marble city full of sandal-wearing Lemurians hanging out under Mount Shasta, but I do think that there's something extraordinary going on there. Something more than just a mass of rock and minerals. In my humble opinion, there's usually some premise upon which legends are born. If you dig deep enough, you're likely to discover a kernel of truth. Something about this mountain, its symmetry, maybe its isolation, its sheer presence, whatever it is, it inspires belief. Maybe that's geological, maybe it's psychological, maybe it's something more. People go there and report spiritual awakenings. Some say they see glowing lights, others hear voices, and you know what? I'm sure a lot of it's total BS, but I'm equally sure that not all of it is, which opens up a lot of unnerving possibilities when you really think about it. Whether it's buried gold, buried cities, or buried parts of our collective imagination, Shasta taps into something deep. So let me ask you, Mount Shasta, is it a portal? Is it a myth? Is it hiding a subterranean civilization, the Lemurians? Or is it just a beautiful mountain that's inspired a lot of imaginative minds? Let me know. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is America's Strangest History. I'm John Genoa. Catch you later.